Welcome to episode 5 of the Hump Day Huddle. That's right, Cinco. They have picked us up for a fifth episode. I'm just kidding, of course. But Joe, we've made it. We've made it past the pilot, and Texas has saved their season. Or excuse me, let's get grammatical. Has saved its season. I know Kevin Robbins somewhere has just done that when he heard me say that. Shout out
Yes,
Professor
it's
Robbins.
singular
So
hop.
anyway, the Longhorns statement victory at the newly remodeled to an extent, but not really Cotton Bowl. Final score, it finished 23-6. And Joe, just start us off. Thoughts on the game, thoughts on the defensive response, whichever way you want to take this.
I mean, just what a great team effort it was for the Texas Longhorns, limiting the excuses that OU might have had. And the last, few victories they've had against OU, it's been, this is not a quarterback that we'd usually use. It's a down year. We have a lot of hurt players. Here they have John Mateer getting rushed back. And we both were saying, like, I don't think he's going to play, right? He's not going to
Oh,
play.
yeah.
Surgery was like 3 weeks ago at the time. There's no way he's going to play. And then we see reports from numerous Texas outlets and some people in OU circles saying he's actually going to rush to play. And then we see him in the pregame, and it looks honestly pretty fine. He has a little wrap around his thumb and his finger,
Yeah, it was a
making sure
whole
it's in.
show. They were
Yeah, it
really
was a
trying to
whole.
show him off. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like, man, are you serious? Like, this guy's actually going to play. He'll find a way to play against the Texas Longhorns. And yeah, he's going to throw for 25 or 30 passing, 300 yards passing, and then maybe two or three touchdowns add on to it. And it just goes into Red River lore. And Texas said, no, sir, we're putting a stop to that.
Common sense tells you that for an injury that took Drew Brees when he was at the height of his powers in the NFL, 5 NFL weeks to come back from with an NFL training staff, you have surgery on your throwing hand, and 17 days later, you're going to play in one of the biggest college football games in the country, and you're supposed to be 100%, you're going to play well. Common sense tells anyone, you don't have to be a doctor, that's not going to work.
I mean, what does this say about Michael Hopkins? I mean, oh my
That
goodness.
as well. That
Oh,
as
like
well.
what does this possibly say? Like we saw what you did last year. We have no chance of starting you. Or was John Mateer saying, "Play me, just play, just trust me. You got to start me. I'll be fine." And they just believed him or something? I mean, what we saw from John Mateer.
And they assured everyone, they were like, and they said it on the broadcast. Who is it? Chris Fowler. If he wasn't
Yeah.
cleared by the medical staff, they wouldn't have just took his word for it. He wouldn't be playing right now. They may have. I'm not sure.
I
And
mean, my guy was just
some of
throwing
it was also
ducks
just
out there.
rust. Some of it's also rust
Yeah.
that doesn't have to do with the injury because it's a very rhythmic timing position. And you have to be, simpatico with all of your pass catchers. But the Texas defense came out there angry because all the talk was about how good of a defense OU had. And they said, hey, we're already pissed off because we just played our worst game of the year. We're going to come out here and be physical, fill up the running lanes. I mean, Blaylock averaged barely 3 yards a carry, the lead back for Oklahoma, outstanding high school player out of Humble, Atascocita, averaged 3 yards a carry because Texas took this past week personally. And despite Mateer's physical limitations that we all saw, I thought they responded well. I really did.
I mean, you said it right there. Like, it's unreal how this defense set the tone, especially after you saw how lackluster they played against Florida at the Swamp. And
Just a week later.
it's like, what in the world? Like, this is what you have to love about college football. I saw a tweet about this basically, how, this DJ Lagway squad, Billy Napier had this defense of Texas just all out of sorts. And then the week after, they had this Oklahoma offense in prison, basically. I mean, what you saw against an Oklahoma offense, they looked lost out there. John Mathieu had nowhere to throw. A lot of sacks right out there were covered sacks. It wasn't even because the O-line was playing too terribly. But I mean, my goodness, this front seven was just terroristic for this Texas Longhorns defense. And Pete
Mm.
Kwiatkowski had a great game plan all game long. The secondary played quite well, in my opinion. They did a good job with their ball skills. especially finishing off some plays. I wish they had that one pick six. That would have been awesome to see. It
Yes.
ended up being dropped, but it's very different in game speed. So I have some grace there for sure, but found a way to still get three interceptions against John Mateer. Unbelievable performance from this Texas defense. Played like a complete unit. And this is what we saw with the exception, all season, with the exception of Florida. We've seen this all season long from this Texas defense. They've been leaned on because of this offense not doing its job all the time. And they just dominated. It was awesome to watch.
And I thought that one guy in particular needs to be singled out because I believe it was 2 weeks ago we each kind of singled him out for in a bad respect, even though we knew he was making an impact. That was Colin Simmons' best game of the season. And
Oh,
it was
easily.
not particularly close. 2.5 sacks for the sophomore star. And I'm despite his play earlier in this season, I'm still ready to call him a star. I just think he was getting a lot of chips and a lot of attention, especially in that Ohio State game, because they didn't want him wrecking the game. He is a game wrecker, and he proved that, injured quarterback or not, on Saturday afternoon. And that's why I think that this defense needs to strike while the iron is hot. When you have not, because most college teams throughout history cannot say that you have two potential NFL all pro level defensive players potentially in Simmons and Anthony Hill. How many college defenses can say that? And am I too bullish in that evaluation?
I don't think it's crazy at all. I don't know about all pros right now. I mean, you
I'm
see,
not saying they will be, but
yeah,
I'm saying they could be.
they have the talent
Not a
for
lot of
sure.
guys can be at this level.
Yeah, I mean, this team recruits well, and we've seen how Sarkisian was talking about at the end of the conference. We had to recruit the Metroplex, and look where he got these guys, and Anthony
Yep.
Hill and Colin Simmons, the Metroplex. And when you make
Yep.
that statement in the heart of Dallas, right next to the State Fair, and so many people are Dallas and Dallas are watching this that are fans of OU and Texas, you bet recruits are going to like what they saw from the Longhorn side. And so again with this defense it wasn't just the fact that they dominated and got off the field in the third down. They were physical in doing it.
Yes.
For four quarters, look at that fourth quarter
Yes.
specifically when I was thinking sometimes maybe they were going to let OU back in the game. Some of these hits on John Mateer,
Oh
man,
my.
oh my goodness. Just
Knocking
earth-shattering
knocking the
hits.
chocolate out of this man. Oh yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you think this was 15 years ago the way they were hitting him sometimes, just getting swept off his
Oh
feet.
yeah.
And they won the penalty battle still, this Texas team, 4-5. And there wasn't a lot of penalties called, which I was surprised by. We've seen the past where refs can sometimes get in the way, and
You gotta
I'm
let the
not gonna
boys
lie,
play in a rivalry game.
I'm not
Have
gonna lie,
to.
that one punt return, I'm not gonna lie, the punt return touchdown, there was a few blocks where I was just
Yes.
surprised they did
Yes.
not throw the flag, and we'll get to Ryan Nibble, I'm sure, in the
And,
future.
and they probably should have.
Yeah,
And,
for sure, but
that one block in the back. And I
yeah.
believe they even said they brought the rules analyst for the broadcast and even said it should have been called.
Yeah, it definitely should have. But I mean, this Texas defense, physical for four quarters. When that happens,
Absolutely.
not a lot of teams can beat them if they have that kind of defensive effort till the very end. And that's now 2 straight years where this Oklahoma offense has not scored a touchdown against Texas.
Which, how many times has that happened in the era of modern scoring, especially in a game typically known for wild, high scoring affairs?
I'm so surprised the broadcast didn't even mention that. Maybe they did in the very end and I already had it turned off or something, but the fact they weren't even like discussing that Oklahoma has scored an offensive touchdown against Texas
It got
since Dylan
mentioned
Gabriel, yeah, like it was just weird to me. Like you
since
think that'd be a
Dylan
bigger deal.
Gabriel, since
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel has transferred somewhere else, gotten them to the playoff, and is now inexplicably starting for the Cleveland Browns. All that has happened. And is to compete with Shador Sanders. Like what a
This is
crazy.
yeah, this is so weird for me to say as well, but speaking of coaches, but like Brent Venables, I have nothing against the guy. I've always respected the crap
What
out
is
of him
that
since his
now?
Clemson days.
Double digit SEC losses in his time as Oklahoma head coach. Getting
Yeah, I
there,
mean,
right? Nine,
I mean, it's
10
got to be nearing there. I
conference
mean,
losses.
this poor guy has been getting humiliated at Red River, with the exception again of that Dylan Gabriel game. But
Yeah.
man, just getting
And,
destroyed.
and remember
49-0.
in that game, that last drive was only possible because, as I remember, there was a coverage bust over the middle. And critically, the drive ensuing, Texas had 4 shots from about a yard and a half out and could not score. And
Yeah,
maybe
pretty
that's a
much.
testament to the OU front, but that's really a testament to football is about imposing your will on another man. As so many coaches have said in the past, probably said to you, said to me, Joe, you got to get that yard and a half in 4 plays. Because
Yeah.
if they get that, it's a 2 possession lead, and Dylan Gabriel could have done that, and they would have fallen short, as I recall.
For sure. And you go back to this Oklahoma defense just this season alone. This is the top three scoring defenses. We'll dive in more of this offense of Texas and how they did. But coming into
We had to mention the
this game,
defense first, though.
yeah,
And yes, this is the longest we've gone in a podcast without saying the words Arch or Manning. So yeah,
yeah, funny how he wasn't even the open in this. But yeah, this
yeah,
Oklahoma defense, speaking of them, I mean, coming into the game, they were third in the nation, I believe, or at least top three in scoring defense. And to see how this offense of Texas looked against them, I think it's hopeful. They only scored, I believe,
respectable.
yeah, 16 points against them, I believe. Is that right? Because the punt
Because you
return
take
was,
off the return. Could have been
yeah,
22 if each of those long field goals go in. They did not.
yeah,
But but they
Mason
moved
Shipler.
but they moved the ball. I guess now we transition the offense quickly to put a bow on the defense. 7 tackles for loss, and that's a lot in a game of this magnitude, especially against an offense that, yes, with a limited quarterback, had been playing at a very high level with Hawkins against East Middle of Nowhere State and with Mateer against legitimate competition. So great accomplishment for the defense. On to this Texas offense. I think it's a good thing that we didn't say the words Arch or Manning early in this podcast. I think this defensive performance can take at least some of the crazy spotlight and expectations off him. You know what he did? That was a very Alex Smithian game. He went out there.
Oh man.
He went out there. He completed what? 60, 65%, just short of 200 yards, but the stats don't matter because he didn't turn it over and he did what he needed to do to manage them to a win.
Managed a
That's to
heck of
be
a game.
that's to be commended for a first year starter. What I don't care if his name's Manning, Matthews, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Arch Manning, the man's gone through in the ringer. He said in the press conference a few days ago that he didn't even know about that article that one writer wrote about him, saying that he's been the biggest disappointment so far in college football this year.
He
It was
might have
pretty
just said
harsh.
that.
Yeah, I don't believe he didn't
I
hear
wouldn't
about
give
it. There's
oxygen to that
no,
if I was him.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. There's no way he didn't hear about that. I refuse to believe it,
Yeah.
especially as a Texas Longhorn. But yeah, he did a great job managing the football. Most importantly, as you were noting, no turnovers. Did his job, 21 of 27 passing, 160 pass yards and a touchdown. He did a great job in a few drives to actually give Texas that lead with DeAndre Moore in the back of the end zone.
Less short-armed balls. Yeah. What, 3 big plays to more throughout the game? 2 key first downs and the touchdown.
I mean, how about the play extending? Just unreal. That one third and seven play, I believe, also to Moore, just otherworldly. That was the Arch Manning
Yes.
that we were advertised all year. That third and seven play, my favorite play of the entire game, for sure. I had that penciled in, and I knew we were going to talk about it for this episode because that is the Arch we were advertised way
Yes.
back when your team starts their drive inside the 10 and finding a way to push it downfield and eventually end up scoring. It's just great on this Texas offense. It's a good look for Arch, and it's a big confidence booster for a guy who's been getting beaten down by the media for sure, especially in the national ranks of media as of late, saying, he's not at all what he's been hyped up to be. And Tre Wisner, man, what more can you say?
Oh,
Leaning
yeah.
on this guy in the run game when he is
Tough
hot.
as a Brillo pad. I'm going to say it every week. I love that kid.
I mean,
Yeah.
how can you not like root for a bruiser like that? Also coming back home, went to DeSoto,
That's right.
and so coming back home
Unheralded recruit out of DeSoto, and he plays with that mid-major chip on his shoulder,
for
even though
sure.
now he is undisputably RB1 at the University of Texas. But he plays with that like Baker Mayfield, everybody's doubted me. I'm gonna run you over energy, you know?
It's beautiful to watch, man. It's like he plays like an everyman. I hate to say it
Yes.
like that because he plays like an absolute baller, but he's a bruiser. He's not
Yes.
trying to juke you out of your shoes.
But
He's
he
trying to
can.
run. He can, but he's trying
Yes.
to run through you for sure.
Yes.
And he's not afraid to run through the tackles. And that's exactly what you need if you're an Arch Manning, is a guy who can get you 3 or 4 yards when you need it the most. And sometimes break off a 37-yard run like you saw him do in that game this past Saturday as well. So props to Tre Wisner.
And he just packs because he's not built like even close, remotely close to a Derrick Henry. And yet, for his size, he packs a punch and he is hard to bring down. And you have to use every last ounce of your effort as a tackler to do so. And that is so valuable for a guy who is not the biggest body and gets a majority of his work between the tackles.
Plays with so much heart. I mean,
Yes.
you cannot teach heart. I mean, we say this a lot about five-star culture and five-star talent. That's the quote that I'm attributing back to Matt Campbell when they defeated Texas and Austin. You can't teach a five-star culture. And that's the culture that Steve Sarkisian has been cultivating along with Chris Del Conte in this revitalized Texas program the last 4 to 5 years. That kind of culture builds up guys like, when Trayvon Wisner, who wasn't supposed to be, the main pill carrier going to the season 2 years ago, or at least a year and a half ago now. Now that he's been
Yeah.
gaining more reps, when he has stepped up to the plate, he has delivered. And it's just been game after game where they've, at least tried to feed him the rock, and he's responded for the vast majority of them. And again, once again, the Red River game, like he did last year, doing it again this past Saturday.
Final line on Tre Wisner, very reminiscent, not quite the game that it was at Kyle Field last year, but very reminiscent of the Lone Star Showdown last year. 22 rushes, 94 yards for a long of 37, as you said, Joe. But the key thing is, for an offense that came in this game struggling, 4.3 yards per carry. And it's not like they were using him on a lot of tosses or anything where he could get to the outside. That is over 4 yards a carry, typically on 1st and 10 and other running downs between the tackles against one of the better defenses in college football. You will take that every day of the week in a big game. It sets up so many things for your young quarterback.
Absolutely, and that's what I was trying to say. Like when you have an Arch Manning who's again not started a crazy amount of games, having a guy like Tre Wisner is such a luxury. He's getting the bulk of the carries by far. I love you, James Simon, but Quinn Trevion Wisner has been the guy who has just been carrying the rock and is clear the confidence that Steve Sarkisian has in him. How many times do you see Tre Wisner fumble? How many times do you see him get knocked off his shoes or
Hmm.
get pushed back? Even with a faulty O-line who played much better this game for sure, they were moving bodies, absolutely moving
Yes.
bodies
Yes.
against OU. Tre
Less
Wisner
penalty
finds
as
it.
well. I know this wasn't a true road game, but still crazy atmosphere.
Mhm.
Met far fewer procedural penalties than what afflicted them in Gainesville.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt. They played especially better. And there was one play I saw, I can't remember who, it was really the whole unit. I don't want to point out anybody singularly, but they flat out just transported this D line of OU, and it went viral on Twitter. Just flat out transported them. And when you have that happen, and you have a bruiser like Tre Wisner, free yardage. It's like free real estate. When that happens, Arch Manning can just dump it down for 4 yards or so at most, and you can move the chains. It helps everybody.
And then this is a perfect segue into something I wanted to touch on. It speaks of the culture of this program. It speaks to everything we were just talking about. The culture of this program, the running back room, waiting your turn like Wisner did. He didn't just up and leave. He waited his turn and stuck to it and was determined to play someday at Texas, and now he is. But Jarrett Gibson, Joe, is not. Jarrett Gibson choosing to leave the program that broke this morning, according to multiple reports. Um, any initial thoughts? And I hate to sound like somebody's uncle here. People do call me Unc for a reason sometimes. Shout out Jackson Verwick. But whatever happened to the days of you commit to a place and you attempt to stick it out because the coach said he wanted you there and try to earn your way up the depth chart. And hey, maybe you get lucky with injuries like Wisner did last year and you get to play. Thoughts on Jared Gibson saying that he will use his red shirt and hit the portal once it opens?
Yeah, I absolutely hate it. And, I thought he was a guy who definitely had potential, especially last season and that performance he had against Michigan where they ran up the score in the big house. I hate it. And I hate this the culture now in college football. I'm not saying guys have never transferred before or just at least use a red shirt, but it sucks that this happens after your team wins. After your team won against their rival in Dallas, that you
Middle of the
say, you know
season.
what?
Yeah.
Like, I got my one
Peace.
carry. Yeah, so I'll see you later. It just rubs me the wrong way that we're doing this now, and it's so like opposite of what Tre Wisner did and how he's waited his turn, as you were kind of alluding to. I hate it for Jared Gibson because I really liked him as a player, especially when they needed him on short yardage and
Ran
or if they
hard.
need
Yeah.
him in the red zone. I have nothing against the guy at all. I wish he just didn't leave, but it just really shows what the culture is today in college football, and so I hate it for that aspect for sure.
And it reminds me, remember the Matthew Sluka scandal of last season? Dipped on the UNLV Rebels after a 3
Yeah,
0 start. He was, I think that's partially, I think there's a lot of fault there. He didn't have anything written down in a contract, which, like, if you're out there, kids, you need things in contracts that are legally binding. Get things in contracts, get things in writing. But in a fitting twist of irony, Trey, last I checked, guess where Matthew Sluka is at right now? He's not starting, Joe.
oh man, where's he at?
Last I heard, he's on JMU's bench. Went from
Oh man.
starting at UNLV, left midseason, and he's on the bench. Last
And
I
it
checked.
goes back to your point. If I do remember correctly, he left because they owed him he
There
thought
was a
in his
dispute
deal
over NIL compensation. Yeah.
NIL. And it's like, oh my God, this is a whole mess, man. And I think they're gonna allow these players also to bet now as college football players
Yes.
since I last heard. I mean, the game's is becoming crazy.
No,
And
no, I think
so
they're going to let him bet professionally, or they were going to let pros bet on college. It's not directly on their league, but boy, is it still
it's a little
problematic.
juicy.
No, because they naturally you have contacts, whichever way it is. Some NFL guys will work out with some top college guys, and some top college guys will work out with some NFL guys in the off season at these camps. I mean, it's a wide world out there, but when you get to the elite echelons of something, anything, football included, the world becomes smaller and a lot of people know people. You cannot, this is begging for improprieties and conflicts of interest. And I say that as someone who loves to gamble, but I'm not an athlete. I'm not an athlete. You can't have that. You just can't.
What was that thing that player almost got in trouble for putting some money on UCLA and USC or something in the past? Oh, Mateer, it was Mateer.
It
And
was
he almost got
Mateer.
remember that
Wow.
he almost got in trouble for gambling and his thing that he had in Venmo was him sending money to somebody saying gambling money for UCLA versus
Oh, and it
USC.
was a joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a joke. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But like, I feel like players are again setting themselves up for something that's insane with this whole situation.
Yeah.
And NIL is becoming way off base to what it was advertised to be. It was supposed to be like what Bijan had, right? Having your own product on the side with your influence, like the Bijan
Yeah,
Musterson.
but nothing ever
Well,
stays wholesome in this day and age when a dollar is to be made, Joe. Come on.
oh man,
Nothing,
money.
nothing stays wholesome. It just turns into a money-making venture.
Oh boy, boy, boy. What's going on with the sport I love?
It's like that meme. It's like the meme of all the British guys being like, "The game's gone,"
The game's gone, mate. The game's gone.
even though
I
they're
love
even though they're
that.
talking about a completely different game. It's just been used
Yeah.
for so many
Hmm.
different contexts. Joe, how about we transition to looking forward? Unless there's anything else you want to offer. Oh, mea culpa from both of us to Ryan Niblett, especially for me, the Niblett family. I was so happy to see you run down this. Oh, now here comes a 10-minute warning. Just saw it right on cue. I'm so happy that you took that punt back. I still don't really want to see a lot of carries out of the backfield. No one's
Oh,
listening to
hey.
me anyway. That was outstanding. You may have been aided by a block in the back. That was awesome. Game-changing play, season-changing play. I apologize.
Into Red River lore as well. That the shot of him getting lifted in the air
Yeah,
in the split of the divide in the crowd. That was pretty cool.
definitely was. So, you ready to look forward to Kentucky and look
Sure.
ahead? So, Longhorns will not return to the friendly confines of Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium until, if I have the date right, November 1st, I believe it is, when they host the Vanderbilt Commodores. These still ranked Vanderbilt Commodores. We'll get to them later. First, trips to Lexington, Kentucky to play the Wildcats and to Stark Vegas to play Mississippi State and all their cowbells. Joe, how you feeling about the Kentucky game? For everybody at home, Kentucky is 0-3 so far in conference play. They have been blown out twice by Georgia. No shame in that on the road. But blew out in Columbia by South Carolina. Not great. They played Ole Miss within a possession at home. Joe, how you feeling coming into this game? Texas, according to ESPN Bet, is a 12.5 point favorite. The over-under is 42 and a half. And ESPN's Football Power Index has the Longhorns with a 82.1% chance to win.
Yeah, I think those are all very fair to point out in Texas's favor. I do think that 12 and a half is honestly way less than I expected, but it's in Lexington, so that does make sense a little bit. But for Kentucky, not a good conference here, obviously, as you pointed out,
No.
with South Carolina and Georgia. Again, tough offenses to face, especially if you're, going against the Bulldogs. So we saw what they were doing this past Saturday at Auburn. Some calls that did not exactly go against Auburn's way, but that's a whole different
It
discussion.
seems like they never do.
It
But
seems like
yes.
they never do.
Yeah.
But Kentucky, man, last year on this schedule, I'm not gonna lie to you, they surprised me in how they came out and played in Austin. First, I didn't expect so many fans to show up of Kentucky to Austin in
No,
that
that's
game.
true.
No, Big Blue showed up
They
in,
did. Mad
in big
respect.
fashion for sure in Austin. That was pretty awesome.
Thanks for letting
That's
me cover
probably
that game, by the way, Joe.
Yeah, for
Thanks,
sure. Yeah.
buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, but Kentucky this year, I don't think this should be too big of a challenge, especially for this defense. I think Texas should have this game secured, especially in the second half. As far as there's no conditions that I'm unaware of right now, I don't think this should be a crazy game, especially coming off the Red River victory that we saw a few days ago. I look last year at the schedule. I mean, they don't have a lot of the same guys from the matchup last year. The only name that I really remember are the quarterbacks in Cutter Boley and Brock Vandagriff.
Yeah.
But Cutter Boley didn't play especially amazing. Turned the ball over one time. Eventually got out the game. In
He
came
had
Brock
some
Vandagriff.
moxie, though. He
Yeah, he has
reminded
some
me a
moxie.
lot
Yeah.
of former Washington football team legend Taylor Heineke, former Old Dominion legend. A little bit bigger in stature. He could scramble a little bit. He could throw decently on the run. Had a really good, like, 15-yard out, but beyond that, you don't want him throwing down the field.
Yeah, I
That
mean
that is what I remember from Cutter.
there were some plays where man they were pushing it. They were pushing it
Yes.
sometimes. The
They
run game
drove it
wasn't.
inside the red zone from, I believe, their own 10-yard line.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean they
and then
didn't.
I think the interception happened. So
Yeah,
there's
I mean
that.
they had no run game at all last year. And again, that Texas defense was amazing last year. That's more credit to
It
them.
was.
But we'll see how this goes in the run game, especially this year. We saw the run game wasn't exactly, or defensive run game wasn't effective against Florida at the Swamp. Anything can happen in college football. I'm done saying this is just an easy win for Texas, as we saw what happened against
Not in
Florida.
this conference.
There is no easy wins coming up at all. Some people are saying this team has a good chance to be 7-2 at the bye. I don't think that's free at all either. Vanderbilt, like you were just saying, is a very solid team. I think Texas is very lucky that they get to play them in Austin this time around because it was a very close call last season. But for Kentucky, I do think this is a fine game for Texas to see where they are again after being 500 in the SEC. Still a really good SEC record since joining. I think this should be a good win for them.
I would agree. I will say for all you bettors out there, I would potentially, just with the offensive limitations for Texas, stay clear of that 12 and a half. I'm not saying take Kentucky. I'm just saying I wouldn't touch that.
I'm not touching that.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's a night game in Lexington, 7 o'clock local time if they're on Eastern time, which I believe they are, kickoff. They're going to be excited. It is it's the highlight of a team like Kentucky season if they can beat Texas at home. It's something that their fans can be happy for. Oh, were you there for that Texas win? Oh yeah, Dale, I was. That was a great night.
Dale.
I had to make up a name there because this isn't a program with a lot of success. This isn't a program going anywhere in particular. They may be playing with a chip on their shoulder, 0-3, and okay, Mark Stoops, of course, the son of Oklahoma legend Bob Stoops, looking to exact revenge on Texas after beating Oklahoma. He's on the hot seat. I mean, this is a massive game for Mark Stoops. The AD had to come out today in a press conference and say, I have full confidence in Mark Stoops that he can lead this team to victory. As any sports fan knows, it is never a good sign when the powers that be have to come out and go out of their way to make an assuring statement about your head coach. That almost never ends well. But maybe the locker room, because he's been there forever, these are all guys he recruited and brought to Lexington, rally for him. So that's a very long way of saying any road game in this conference could be a trap, even for a team like Texas. I too believe Texas wins, um, but I am not sure about a two-score margin. I'll say that.
And Mark Stoops, I don't know if you pay attention, but he's starting to be looped into the Virginia Tech job as well. That just got opened as well, and
Is
that's
he?
yeah, he's starting to get looped with that as well. I don't know
I
what it
would
also
leave for
means
that
for.
job if I was him. Now, maybe, yeah, you guys say I'm a homer from the state of Virginia. That is a way better job because one school, if you get the ball rolling some, will start prioritizing football in a conference that prioritizes basketball more, the ACC.
Mhm.
Whereas the other school will never, ever for their football have the resources to compete in a pay for play era. They just
And
won't.
it sucks for Stoops too, because I mean he's always been a little bit overshadowed because of his brother Bob Stoops, who had an awesome resume. He's had good seasons every now and then, and a good season for Kentucky is much different than a good season for a lot of other programs
Yes.
that have historical success. And he's had his chances every now and then to keep building the program. It's just tough to do when football is not exactly what your athletics department invests the most in. But for Stoops, for sure, I mean he's going to come prepared, and I do think that there was a time I believe also he was going to be the candidate for A&M to have that job, and I think the donors, once they heard that backlash, said, we're not going to do that, and they hired
Mm.
Mike Elko, but that's something from the
And they
past
they
now.
made they made free
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
made the right decision, but this should be a
They're
good
a
game.
physical team.
Yeah, it'll be close in the first half. I still think Texas pulls it off. I'll say Texas wins this game 28 to 14.
28-14. Yeah, it sounds about right. I could see it being in that range. Um, but I think that finally this Texas offense gets a little regularity to it. I will say 31-17 for the Longhorns.
I hope they break
So
30. It'd be
despite me
awesome.
telling people be wary of minus 12 and a half, I picked them to cover that. But I'm just not sure about that number. Anything can happen. Any closing thoughts as we are under a minute to go, Joe?
Hope they win. Hope they win. Hope they keep the ball rolling because, they have the work cut out for them in the rest of the schedule.
Yes, they do. But these two games, very important. Got to get that offense firing on all cylinders before Vanderbilt. And with that, that'll conclude episode 5 of the Hump Day Huddle. Please be sure to check out our Twitters below. And of course, check out hornsillustrated.com. We'll see you next week.